I'm Larry Farver, and let's queer up the USA view. Ohio LGBTQ plus group teaches gun safety as anti-queer laws rise. In Ohio, a queer motorcycle group is responding to a wave of anti-LGBTQ plus legislation by teaching community members how to safely handle firearms. Queers on Gears, through its Cleveland chapter, has been hosting firearm training sessions on a rural property outside Elyria. Held in a barn on a family farm, the classes are led by 2 transgender instructors and are designed as safe, inclusive learning spaces. According to the Buckeye Flame, the sessions have already grown steadily over the past year, attracting many first-time participants. The organizer, Fifi, said that the participants were happy and feeling comfortable describing an environment where queer individuals could learn without fear. Fifi said the idea emerged after returning to Ohio from Oregon and witnessing a shift in the political climate. Participants cite recent state actions, including restrictions on LGBTQ plus education and policies affecting transgender students as motivation. Well, I'm excited to hear this. I know that some folks out there might not support, openness about guns, but I think if it's controlled, we need to at least be educated. I think one of the things, in my growing up, which was kind of a reversal, as I mentioned to some people before we did this story on the panel here, I grew up in a family where we didn't have guns. They weren't encouraged. My parents didn't have guns. Maybe the only people in my family going back generations were people who were farmers who were my ancestors. But looking now, interestingly enough, I had an opportunity coming down to South Florida, and a friend encouraged me to go to a shooting range. And while I don't personally own a firearm at this point, it was empowering for me to feel comfortable. It took away the fear. So if I'm ever in a position where, as an LGBTQ person or an ally or just defending someone, if I had to defend myself, I feel a little more comfortable. The mystery is gone. But I have to say, interestingly enough, I had an opportunity to go up to the New York metropolitan area for a wedding this summer. And in seeing my side of the family after my husband's for a wedding, my brother said, I want to take you out and just look at some things. So it was interesting. My middle brother's straight, but he supports me, and he wanted to make sure that my mother and I, along with my nephew, maybe had some options. And one of them out there now, which is interesting, is not a gun. It's actually called a burna. So it can basically stun someone either through using a tear gas pellet or a pellet. And while I'm not advocating for that on this show, I'm just saying that I think we need to educate ourselves. There are things that are revealing themselves day by day in the current administration that I think we just need to be aware of what our options are. I thought coming out in the late 80s that we got through a lot of things as I moved into the 90s and early 2000s, and here we are. And I think we all need to just look at our options. We're not advocating violence, but we're advocating educating ourselves and being ready if we need to, because we need to protect our communities.
Well, this is one of the things that we also have to think about. Because, on the one hand, hearing this story, it's the good guy with a gun is a myth, to be honest, in a one-on-one situation. Mm-hmm. But America's not dealing with that right now. We're dealing with not just our government being violent. There are active right-wing militias that have been harassing people. There's been multiple news reports, and I've been saying for 2 years now, it's time for both leftists and for LGBTQ people and marginalized groups to not just have arms, but to form well-regulated, well-trained militias for self-defense forces. They shouldn't be starting violence, but they should be ending it.
And that's the thing. I mean, with the Supreme Court eroding gun control laws decade after decade, us not training and getting used to using these things, as distasteful as we might find personally, it's equivalent of tying one's hand behind one's back when the right-wing militia is coming for you.
You're being polite. I think it's putting ourselves up to the slaughter.
When they parade with their weapons down Wilton Drive in their pickup trucks and their flags, which is going to be suspiciously like Taliban, except there will be a cross on it. We have to protect ourselves. And remember, Florida especially, and in many other places, castle doctrine, as in stand your ground, is a thing. Mm-hmm. You are not you are not liable if they are aggressive towards you.
And we have the right to bear arms. It is an open carry state. I don't personally own a firearm, but the education for the LGBTQ community to know how to use it is very necessary. And with the ongoing cultural war in this country, right on for this group of people in Ohio for doing this, and I hope we get to see it here too.
And that is especially true for our trans brothers and sisters who
Yes.
are literally not just persecuted, but in some cases states are trying to prosecute
Yeah.
for simply being who they
You
are.
know, one of the most well-read story I ever published at Options was actually going to an LGBTQ protest that was protected by the John Brown Gun Club. They were protesting, so like, New England had this fun little thing of Nazis trying to show up to drag story hour at the libraries. Yeah, of course New England has Nazis, it's the whole thing, but like, the police, I thought, was spending far more time protecting the Nazis than the LGBTQ people there. And I was so glad to have the John Brown Gun Club there to protect us while I was trying to interview people and talk to all the participants. And like, these sorts of militias, they do work. If they're properly trained, they're very effective. And like, the scariest thing that ever taught me about how to do activism and politics in this country was listening to the police after Charlottesville. For those that don't remember, it was the racists with the tiki torches from Target.
2017.
Yeah, but like, people thought, why didn't the police be more engaged with those violent? Because some of them turned very violent. They're like, oh, well, they had a lot of guns and we didn't know if we could win a firefight. I'm like, so you're telling me if me and my friends are all armed, we're actually going to be less likely to receive violence from the police. Thank you. Thank you, America. That's great.
I'm sorry, they were afraid of school shooter in Texas. Which
I don't even get, that's a whole other...
Well, and just to add one more thing before we transition to the next story, I think, you know, if someone's not comfortable with firearms or, you know, burnas or mace, you know, maybe taking a self-defense course. You know, unfortunately, we have many of our brothers and sisters throughout the alphabet who've been jumped or attacked, and just to be able to defend yourself until you can get to a safe place and get help.
Think about it, Larry, instead of drag queen story time, drag queen self-defense
I
time.
love it. I love it.
Hey, there are multiple locations right here in our fair city of Wilton Manors where it can be converted into a gun range slash
Martial arts.
slash protect, like teach training places.
Ooh,
There you
can
go.
learn about firearm safety.
Well, maybe we have some entrepreneurs who have had the proper training and knowledge. So it's out there. Well, thank you. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.